So welcome everybody. I'm Charles Goldman from RAND, and we're just getting everybody into the meeting. As soon as we get everybody admitted, we'll go ahead and get started.
Charles, here comes one more person. I'd give us like one more minute and then I think you can get started.
Got everybody in?
Everybody that's here so far, it's 30 people out of about 75 that registered, but I'll just let them in as you go along. So feel free to get started.
Thank you. So welcome everybody. I'm Charles Goldman from RAND, and I'm pleased to welcome you here to today's webinar, where we're going to introduce our new project on addressing barriers to talent and diversity in Southern California's public sector careers. In a moment, I will introduce the people involved in the project. We're joined by many folks today that we're grateful to have with us. So as you'll hear in a moment, this project is under the auspices of the Volcker Alliance's Government to University initiative, and the Southern California Government to University Steering Committee is headed by Sandy Buchanan and Debbie Dillon from RAND and from the Southern California Association of Governments, respectively. You can see them on the screen. I'm Charles Goldman, and T'Pring Picado, who is with us today, are co-leading the project. And on the project, we have Luke Irwin, Daniel Allen, Ying Zhao, Sungho Ru, John Cho, and also supporting us are several members of the Los Angeles Government to University Steering Committee: Crystal Murray, Thomas Norman, Catherine Hansen, and Jonathan Garig. And I think many of them are here today, and we're grateful for their participation. So this is intended to be a short overview and introduction, and then we'll open it up for your comments, questions, and feedback. We are intending to complete this project over the next several months, and then we'll have another webinar when we'll present the findings and results, and you'll be invited to that. So the agenda here is I'm going to turn this over to Daniel Allen, who's going to give us a little bit of an introduction to some of the organizations involved, and then I'll tell you about the project, and T'Pring will finish the presentation by presenting to you some initial context and findings. So let me turn it over to Daniel.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to briefly talk here about the Government to University initiative. It's founded by the Volcker Alliance, and the main, idea behind the initiative is to establish regional networks of government agencies and universities in order to strengthen relationships for talent. The goal is that within each of these regions, the network is formed, broadening, and strengthening connections between universities, which is like the top talent centers, and government agencies. And then Volcker acts as a way to connect each of those regional networks to form a network of networks. The current G2U locations are Southern California, Kansas City, Missouri, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Chicago, Illinois, and North Carolina. And so far, each of these regions have, had some roundtables and connections, and things are going smoothly. Now I'm going to talk briefly about the SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, which is the head organization of the Los Angeles G2U. The SCAG region is made up of 6 counties in Southern California: San Bernardino, Los Angeles, Ventura, Orange, Riverside, and Imperial. As you can see in this graphic, it's quite a large metropolitan planning organization. I'm sure many of you know this information. And it covers a huge area and has quite a few people in this region. And that's why SCAG was chosen by the Volcker Alliance as the head agency for the G2U.
Thank you, Daniel. So RAND is collaborating with SCAG to carry out this project, and RAND is a nonprofit, nonpartisan research institution. We're headquartered in Santa Monica, California, and we have offices around the country and several throughout other countries in the world. We have about 2,000 staff at RAND covering many different disciplines and backgrounds. And in addition to the research and analysis that we carry out, we also operate the nation's largest public policy PhD program, the Pardee Rand Graduate School, which has about 120 PhD students studying policy analysis with an aim of preparing them for careers in public agencies, as well as in international organizations and the private sector where there's relevance for policy analysis. So we always like to advertise our graduate school, and the school works symbiotically with RAND. So the students work on RAND research projects to get practical experience in policy analysis and also to provide funding because their education is fully funded through the work that they perform. And so for those of you who are in education, if you have promising students who might be interested, send them along to us. I want to say that we're very grateful to the Volcker Alliance for their support of the G2U initiative and for specifically funding a portion of the project that we're talking to you today. SCAG has also contributed funding to the project, and for which we are grateful. The project is intended primarily to document the challenges that exist to attracting both talented and diverse college and university students into public sector careers within the 6-county region that Daniel presented to you in Southern California. The project is also going to produce a series of publicly available videos to support recruiting talented and diverse individuals into public sector careers. So these will be videos of people telling their own story about their public sector careers that we hope could be used by colleges and universities, could be accessed by students, could be used by faculty, could be used by public agencies as well for recruiting. And overall, we're supporting the Southern California G2U team, which is intending to take the results that we come up with in this project and develop action plans to address the challenges in the region and to develop communications plans and campaigns. And so we're intending this as developing a base of knowledge that the G2U team in Southern California can use to carry on its work into the future. So just to be clear, so it's not our research team's responsibility to solve the issues that we identified. We're trying to document and clarify them so that the G2U and the partners can begin addressing them. The project is organized into 5 tasks. So the first task is actually analyzing statistical data about the Southern California public sector workforce, and Tapring's going to present to you a few preliminary slides from that task. Our partners at SCAG are taking the lead on that task, and we're very grateful for their collaboration. The second task is to interview public sector hiring managers to collect information on the hiring challenges from their point of view, particularly as it affects the recruitment of individuals with diverse characteristics and what some of those challenges might be. And T'Pring's also going to mention some of the challenges we have in mind. The third task is to do a similar activity with both college students and career services professionals about how they perceive public sector careers and what they think some of the barriers that they may face or their students may face in accessing those careers. We're planning to do, we haven't finalized the plans, but we're planning to do probably somewhere between 10 and 20 public sector hiring managers in interviews, and we're going to do focus groups with college students at about 6 local colleges and universities, and also talk to their career service professionals. And so from the results of tasks 1, 2, and 3, we'll identify, we're also doing a review of literature that's been published on these topics, so that we can identify challenges that could be addressed by the G2U initiative and elements for messaging campaigns. And then, as I mentioned, we're also working on producing videos that could help attract diverse talent and to publicize the benefits of public sector careers and why you might want to choose that sort of a career. So now I'd like to turn it over to T'Pring.
Thank you. So like Charles said, I'm T'Pring Pequato from RAND Corporation. I'm a senior policy researcher and also a professor at our graduate school. So one of the initial aspects of the tasks that we are performing is taking a closer look at the literature to think about potential barriers that have been reported on from the literature. And so the broad categories are about the candidate themselves or the job and the job context, the job style. So as you can see on the slide, candidate perceptions and values, the aspects of a job that they're most desirable is an aspect for consideration, and also a potential barrier that exists when attracting talent into the public sector. Also, candidate preparation. There are programs out there that start a pipeline into public career sectors, and we're investigating whether there are potential barriers that exist in the candidate preparation area. Also, the job characteristics, the type of jobs, the flexibility, the culture, the work environment. Those are the characteristics of a job that may be a barrier, an attractor for candidates choosing public sector careers over private sector careers, but also the job processes and requirements for those jobs. Those we've identified those large, broad characteristics for potential barriers that we're going to investigate further throughout the couple more months that we have to prepare for this final report. Next slide. So next, I want to walk you through a couple of slides that share some of our preliminary findings. So a first aspect of this project is just to characterize what are we looking at in the public sector? Are there public sector jobs available really in the greater Southern California region? And in fact, we do find that while a large portion of employed workers are in the private sector, almost 70%, there are 2% in the government, in the federal government, state government, 3%, and local government, 7%. And that really does total a large number of people, almost 1.3 million individuals, and 12% of the region's workforce are in the private sector. Next slide. So taking a deeper dive into what those occupations are, what are those 1.3 million workers doing? What are their job titles? So just taking the largest number of areas, of the occupations to, and filtered down, you can see that educators are a common occupation in a variety of ways. So elementary and middle school teachers, teaching assistants, post-secondary teachers, secondary school teachers, education and childcare administrators, and special education teachers. So they're a large portion of occupations that are in the public sector workforce in the Southern California region. So taking a look at outside of education, what we did was look at other occupations that may employ college and university graduates. So just looking across frequent occupations and the field in which people are actually doing jobs in the Southern California region. And so you can see there are a variety of fields from business, computer science, social services, trades, education, engineering, office administration, services, and science, and then frequent occupations in those large fields. So if you're in the field of business, you can do compliance or operations or human resources or project management. So we took a look at other occupations that may employ college and university graduates. And from that, we will possibly ask specific targeted questions to individuals in these programs that are seeking public service, seeking careers, about barriers to entering the public sector career. Great, next slide. And so with that, we have a few deliverables, like Charles said in the beginning, from our tasks. We're going to present findings from our research study and another webinar. This is the introduction webinar, and we'll have a final webinar in a couple of months. We're going to produce a final report that will be publicly available with all of our information on it, and also those recruitment videos. So the videos will be able to support colleges and universities in having students enter the public sector career force, but also with agency individuals, so to attract at the federal, state, and local level. So we're looking to produce a series of videos for this project as well. And with that, I would like to say thank you for sharing a little bit of your time today and open it up for questions. And you can put questions in the chat. We can provide more specifics on our study or some preliminary findings, or in general, our approach, questions that we may have in our mind, anything that's top of mind for you.
Yes, if I can, it's Don Spivak. Looking at the chart of the nature of the work, I didn't see clearly a category that represented, say, public officials and public functions such as planning, building, and safety, non-uniform types of public employees, and non-administrative support types of employees. Do you have a breakdown as to what portion of the public sector embraces those kinds of jobs?
We do. We in our partnership, we have all of the information that we're gathering is from the American Community Survey, and we do have information on all of the jobs that that have any frequencies in the Southern California area. So there are some that we're doing a further analysis for jobs that are primarily full-time, or workers are engaged in those occupations full-time, as well as those that require an AA or beyond, so an AA, BA, or graduate school. So to the extent that those jobs are well populated, to some frequency percentage, we don't have a threshold for that yet. We will be exploring those as well. And some of those are the ones that we want to look at, the comparisons of, a legal person in the public sector and a legal person in the private sector, an accountant in the public sector and an accountant in the private sector. And so some of those, the frequency alone isn't going to determine whether we're going to investigate barriers further. We do want some of those that are especially, qualified, well-paid occupations.
Thank you.
And also, I'm not sure if we elaborated on the interviews. So we're also doing interviews with students themselves, career-seeking students, to identify barriers that they've actually had in applying to jobs, and then their impressions on public career sectors or occupations in the public sector. So that's another area where we will get greater insight into other jobs that aren't just the most frequent ones in our society.
Yeah, I would assume you'll be looking at the potential barriers that things like civil service systems and regulations impose.
Yes, the process part of it, the job process, the application process, we're definitely going to take a deeper dive into.
Thank you.
Yeah. Charles, do you want to take the question? How were the institutions being interviewed selected?
Sure. So we haven't totally finalized this, but for the public sector, we've stratified employers by federal, state of California, and all local government levels, and we've allocated a certain number of interviews to each level. For the colleges and universities, T'Pring, you might have to help me, but as I recall, we're going to do 2 public universities, 2 private universities, and we'd like to do 1 or 2 community colleges, but our plans are not as far along on the community colleges right now. So I think that answers that question. We've got some other question, right?
Do we have some early sense on the degree to which current public workforce does or does not reflect diversity of the region? So we have some preliminary information on that. So what we've done, again, our source is the American Community Survey, and we're just now exploring the diversity among full-time workers with different varying earned degrees. And there are some differences between the public sector workforce and the private sector workforce. However, we're not sure if education and the range of, when you get to the range of $50,000 annual income to $70,000 annual income, the diversity, we're exploring the diversity in that area. When you get above this threshold of 400% above the federal poverty line, when you're really in, a stable, sufficiently paid occupation, where does the workforce diversity, where does racial, and right now we're on racial, but we also have gender and physical disability considerations as well. So that will be reported by our final webinar.
You had a question that you've partially answered, to bring about the videos being available. So we haven't finalized the distribution, but our intent is that the videos will be openly hosted, such as on YouTube or another platform where anyone can access them and will not have to go through the project or the organizations. Project and the organizations will also do marketing to promote the videos, perhaps through other channels like Instagram. I don't know if we can get on TikTok. I don't know if I'm hip enough, but we're going to look at trying to put them out. And we're looking at doing both short and longer formats. So there'll be probably some versions that'll be 60 seconds for people who want a real quick hit. And then there'll be some version that'll be longer. For instance, that maybe a college or university faculty might want to use as part of an exploration of careers, or an agency might want to use. So we're going to try to produce a few different edits and formats in order to serve different kind of needs and communication demands.
And we intend to do it, to produce these short videos and long videos across the variety of sectors. So federal, state, and local areas as well to get that broad representation.
Says TikTok. Yeah, I think so. Isn't there a limit? What's the time limit on TikTok?
Come on, TikTokers.
I thought it
I'm
was.
not on TikTok. But
Yeah,
that's
we will look into that. I think
Yeah.
we should try. But if I recall that the time limit is pretty short, 60 seconds. Okay, we can
60
get
seconds.
our 60-second videos.
Do it. So in our final report, we will not include recommendations to address the barriers. Our role is really supplying the barriers in which we identify. However, it's also to support the continuing work that organizations like many of you participate in to move forward. So to increase and advance diverse, talented public sector workforce. So while it may not be prescriptive recommendations, you ought to do the next thing, it will have general areas for consideration: investment, implementation, addressing the barriers to such as the process. But there's such a wide variety of occupations that exist in the public sector workforce occupations, as well as agencies that's not our intent and not the scope of this project. The US Navy is the largest employer in Ventura. Will we be able to offer a hiring manager to participate? I say yes, we're looking for a partnership. So please get a hold of Charles, me, Debbie, whoever you're connected to from this invite, and we would love to partner with you. I will put our general email. So public sector careers, pscareers@rand.org. Great. So I don't see any other questions in the chat. Yes.
If I could, this is Don Spivak again.
Yes.
Have you looked at, or will you be looking at the makeup of the student body to see if there is a diverse pool? Or do you know if anyone is looking at making sure that there is diversity in the student pool from which public sector will hopefully be drawing a more diverse workforce?
Right. So thinking about aspects of the pipeline. LA area, we do have the demographics of the LA area. And we will be presenting the characteristics of not greater than the LA area. So Southern California from Ventura down to Imperial. So yes, we will have that described, which can have the implications of, the college students that are graduating with AAs, BAs, and higher than that, beyond BAs as well. Yes. Great. So there's some models we can take in the Pittsburgh office on the Instagram account that we can imitate best practices. Great. Well, we are available for questions throughout this period of performance. Don't be shy. We have a large group and are very willing to participate and encourage participation. We thank you for joining us today. Are there any other questions for the good of the group? Great. Again, we want to thank you for your time and joining us today. We look forward to presenting the findings as we move forward through this project, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.